Hey everybody, it's Tommy Trenga here, and I'm back with another ranking video. So, you see me, I've only done 2 ranking videos so far, the one being the Trackmaster sets, and of course the Thomas narrators. Now you're probably wondering, what would I rank next? Probably the seasons? Well, that will probably take forever, but maybe in the future, but there's something I've always wanted to rank alongside the narrators, and that being my favorite part of the Thomas and Friends franchise, most of all. The movies. The movies in this Thomas show are a very important part to film. Rather than just episodes where they're 4 to 6, 7 minutes long, movies are like 1 hour premiere specials. For whether we introduce a new character, a new location on Sodor, or just telling an overall message to us to appeal. Now, some of these movies greatly succeeded, while others, well, not so much. So today's video, we're going to be ranking every Thomas movie from worst to best. And before you ask, no, I will not be counting the Big World Big Adventure to long hour, 30-minute videos that count as movies, whatever the hell that Dancing Robots count. So those, they will not be included on that list. Go cry about it. And for fair warning, I rewatched these videos in the past before, so my opinions have changed drastically. So feel free to like a movie that I hate and hate a movie that I enjoy. I mean, that's what the comment section is for, right? So without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy this ranking video of all the Thomas movies. So we'll be starting off with the worst. Alright, so coming in at last place, and I know it's gonna surprise a lot of you, but in my opinion, Big World Big Adventures is the worst Thomas movie. There's no movie that will ever top this thing more than this stupid piling piece of garbage. You know, I used to think that this movie used to be a decent, passable film, even though it tried to kickstart the Big World Big Adventures era, which led to some fans being so hatred to Mattel. But then afterwards, after rewatching it, I suddenly realized this thing has more flaws, and I started shouting at the screen and throwing like cans, not literally, but you know what I mean. So the plot in this movie is that Thomas hates his life on Sodor, well, somewhat, and then he decides to go on a Big World Big Adventures by himself, because he follows a race car, Ace, of all things. I mean, at first I thought this movie was going to be like, hey, maybe Toppa might actually take Thomas around the world, due to kids all over writing legends, seeing their favorite drink from the books. But no, they did not do that. My biggest problem with this movie is that everything is so unfinished. Literally, the animation is absolute crappy. Too many body gestures from the engines, and just nothing about this movie is perfect. This is the one movie that started that dreadful Bubba era, and then kickstarted to all engines go reboot, and literally destroy the entire franchise as we know it. I mean, and I can't even speak anymore. So that's why I hate this movie. But if there's some good things about it, like I like the soundtracks are pretty good in this movie. I like the idea of Neil was also introduced in this movie. He was handled perfectly well, but when she in the show, however, that was messed up in my opinion. And Ace, I don't like Ace, to be honest. I mean, he's literally just a ripoff of Lightning McQueen. He literally, you all think that Ace is supposed to be a good guy when he's supposed to be the antagonist of the film. And just, why? Why did they do this? But I'm just wasting my breath. And the worst part of all, this movie didn't, even after the movie was released ever, it didn't even air on TV. We didn't even got a DVD copy of it even after a year after it was released. It didn't even air on Netflix. So it's hard for us Thomas fans try to reach out to the movie. Whatever, I'm straining my vocal cord voice when I was talking about this movie. So, Big World Big Adventures is just a piece of steaming hot garbage. Literally. Nothing about this tops it, and it's the worst thing ever to be made and a disgrace to this franchise. But if you guys like this movie, then that's totally fine. I'm glad you guys can enjoy something that I don't, so don't feel bad if you do. So next up, let's move on. Alright, Alright, coming in at 13th place is the movie everybody wanted me to rank on. It's Misty Island Rescue. Now, I know a lot of you are surprised that I didn't put Misty Island Rescue dead last instead of Big World Big Adventures, but there are some things that makes this movie a little more passable than the Blubber movie. So let's start with the plot. The plot in this movie is that a Sorter Search and Rescue Center is being built, and they need Joby Wood to build it, of course, but when it comes to delivering the wood, Diesel wants to take it, but Thomas acts like a total racist twat and tells him Diesel can't be really useful, and I have no clue why he said that. And then Diesel tries to deliver the wood, but then he loses it because he's an idiot. Then Thomas saves him, he gets no repercussionary for his actions, and then Diesel, he's just out of the plot. Then he has to get to the mainland to help supply more Joby Wood to the search and rescue center, but he can't because there's no room on the ship. Instead, there's a tiny little rail boat raftish thingy. I don't know what this plot is. So he has to go in there. He's still on steam on the way to the mainland. The chain snaps. Thomas gets lost at sea. He ends up on Misty Island, and then he meets Bash Dash and Fernet, who for some reason are still in work on this weird railway island called Misty Island. Yeah, I have no clue what this movie's about. Anyways, Thomas finds out they have Joby Wood. He works together with them. But meanwhile, on Sorter, Topham realizes Thomas is missing. He sends out a search party to no avail. Then the wood is delivered, gets ready to go. Thomas finds out there's a tunnel. He takes the lightning with them. They get trapped. Then, of course, well, we all know this. Topham sends 3 of his engines on a boat to Misty Island Rescue. But why did he do that? There's a search and rescue team there. Why did he have to send 3 of his engines on a boat to Misty Island? And more importantly, why is he sending Gordon, Edward, and James of all characters? Who's looking after Gordon's Express or Edward's Branch Line or James' work? And then the next thing he does, he sends engines to a tunnel with and Percy. Like, why did he do this? Why couldn't he just take 3 of his big tender engines to the tunnel and then instead of just taking a boat? That way it would have been much quicker. That way we would have easily got the perfect ending. But no. Yeah, I know there's a lot of problems with this film. Every character is stupid, the decisions are awful, the rhyming is just literally annoying, and it's such a pain in the butt. But that's all I can say about for cons. For pros, there are a lot of some good things I like. I mean, I like the idea of a Sorter Search and Rescue Center being built. That's good. Let's see. There's more else good to this film. Like, I like the idea how Whiff is more in this movie, but it kind of feels a little weird. Like, how does Whiff all characters know about the Misty Island tunnel from the Search and Rescue Center to Misty Island? So, I mean, would have been more made sense if Edward or Salty knew about it, since they're one of the oldest engines on Sodor. But hey, I mean, maybe that's what the writers thought. And let's see, the soundtrack is pretty good. I like the opening theme, but even though, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I listen to the introduction music to Misty Island with the intro credits, I mean, doesn't it almost feel like it sounds like Captain Jack Sparrow's theme from Pirates of the Caribbean? I don't know, let me know in the comments. So Misty Island Rescue is not all that bad, you can say. Yeah, it has the rhyming dialogue, it's dumb character moments, stupid decisions, but at least there's not any not that cartoony like Big World Big Adventures where the animation is solely unfinished or the engine doing body gestures. Ugh. So this movie just didn't feel, I mean, it's not worse than Blubber, but hey, it's just a movie that's there that kind of, well, didn't prove well to us fans, but it could be a lot worse. So overall, Big Misty Island Rescue is a movie that's bad, but not worse. So on to the next one. In 12th place, we have Day of the Diesels. Oh boy. Day of the Diesels is quite a painful but slightly better movie than Misty Island Rescue. Well, somewhat. So, the plot in this movie is that Thomas and Percy don't see eye to eye with each other. Percy's the main character, which I like, and Thomas is a secondary character. Percy feels left out because he thinks Thomas can't have enough friends more than him, until Diesel helps him, gets on his good side, and tries to aid him toward a better scheme. And toward that, we learn Diesel 10 is back in the movie. And here I like how he's handled this movie. He's not the most funny and bombastic like how he was handled at Magic Railroad. He's quiet and patient, and he pulls all the strings and the shadows until for its bigger plan, let's handle towards the end, but we'll get to that shortly. But, so, that's all I need to know about the plot. But then, of course, let's talk about the pros. So the pros is more, like I said, Percy's the main character, which I like, and Thomas is the secondary character. And let's see, I like how, in fact, we got Diesel 10 back, and like I said again, and how Diesel is more of a prominent role in this movie too, because, I mean, it's Day of the Diesels, and he is Diesel, obviously, so, and I also like the fact of how, the fire engines that are right there, Bell and Flynn are, more, not that great, but they're just okay. So, and I like the idea of a Diesel Works and how Diesel 10 lives there, which is kind of cool, even though I thought he was a Magic Railroad, not canon into the show, but it's whatever. So that's all I have to say about for pros. Now for cons. So although Percy is the main character of the movie Day of Diesels, I do not like how he's acting. Percy is a total brainless idiot. He thinks that Thomas shouldn't have more friends than him. And whenever he's in screen, he's always going back and forth, the Steamies, Diesels to Steamies. This is just ridiculous. And another thing is that Diesel 10's plan was to take over the steamers because their diesel works was bad, like absolute garbage. And they needed Percy to aid the scheme, and then when they get there, they trash it. Like, what? This movie just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But the plot is messed up, and Diesel 10, what did they need to do? Did they need Percy to unlock the door or something? Like, what? They couldn't have just taken over themselves? And when they get there, they just trash it. Like, what? I just don't get it. Day of the Diesels is a very awful movie, and not only that, if there's one word that I would use to describe this movie, and I know it's gonna shock everybody, racist. Day of the Diesels is a very racist movie. Now, I don't want to harm it, but this feels like more of a child's allegory, friendly allegory of racism, because here's the thing. In the first couple of minutes of the movie, Thomas told Bell and Percy that Diesels are all devious. Only when the next couple minutes in the show, Thomas proves his hurtful comments right. Like, why? Like, it's true. Like, all Steamies are good no matter what, and Diesels are bad always. Even despite the fact that there's Meavis and Salty, who are two nice goody Diesels, it still didn't help with the message. Day of the Diesels is a very awful and boring movie, and I feel like the writers didn't even have a clue in their mind like what to do. All they did was just literally put Diesel 10 in there, doing some fire engines, and copy and pasted some Steamy versus Diesel rivalry, which they did in another film before this. Wow. So overall, I hate Day of the Diesels. It's a very awful racist movie, and it doesn't deserve any liking or recognition. So that's all I have to say about this thing. Anyways, moving on. Number 11, it's Thomas and the Magic Railroad. I don't even know if I even like this movie, but to be honest, I really don't even like this movie at all. I mean, it's not even that better, but we'll get to that later. So anyways, you'd be probably seeing that I don't have any nostalgia for this movie, but truth be told, I do. I was like a little boy when me and my big brother went to a hair salon to get a haircut, and the friendly hairdresser, she was so friendly, she even played this movie in the DVD room while we were getting our haircut done. And at first, I thought it was pretty okay, but as I'm growing into teenage and adulthood, watching this movie over and over again, I kind of start to see why people started to dislike this movie because of, well, a lot of things. So let's start with the plot. So the plot in this movie is that Sir Topham Hatt is away for vacation, and while he's away, Mr. Conductor, who is a human figure which we've never seen before, has to look after the railway in his absence. However, he travels through Sodor and Shantung using gold dust. But when he's on Sodor, his gold dust is gone, so he phones Junior to bring more gold dust for him. Meanwhile, there's a little girl named Lily who hasn't seen her grandfather, Bernard Stone, who happens to own a magical engine. She now gives life to all the engines on Sodor, but she's not running. So when she gets to him, Mutt the dog lets her get on the wrong train. Like, why does this happen? Whatever. And then she ends up at Shantung Station. Meanwhile, there's another plot that Diesel 10, who is an evil diesel on this railway, happens to be on Sodor in hopes of destroying Lady and the Lost Buffers with his sidekick Splatter and Dodge. However, but of course this doesn't happen thanks to Thomas and friends. But that's the problem with this movie. This plot is so messed up. But I have two biggest issues with this movie. One biggest issue, and you want to know what it is? Thomas isn't the main character. Despite Thomas the Tank Engine himself being plastered on the poster and having his freaking name in the title, he's not even the main character. The main character of this movie is Mr. Conductor. But I mean, don't get me wrong, Alec Baldwin is super entertaining as both a narrator and play Mr. Conductor for both Thomas, but nobody came to see this movie for some sappy, depressing human drama. We all came here to see our favorite blue tank engine and have adventure, which we'll only get in the last 15 minutes of the movie. And another thing that I really hate about this movie is the Magic Elf. Railroad comes out in 2000, and then you learn that the only way to get this Sodor is by gold dust, and Jan Sodor is a fictional place, meaning that it's not real and it's living in a separate bubble from the real world. And the only way that the engines are alive is because of a female godlike engine living in the 12th dimension who runs on gold dust. There's just so many things wrong with this movie, but I don't even know what Britt Allcroft was planning on doing, even though the director's cut was clearly the way she wanted to go, but sadly, it didn't make out for it. And another thing that I don't get about this movie is Diesel 10's plan. You see, Diesel 10's plan was to destroy Lady's Lost Engine just so that way he can claim Diesel's rule of Sodor, but why? I mean, why did he want to do this? Obviously, because Lady is a magical engine, gives life to all the engines, including Diesel 10 himself. But how does it work? If he destroyed her, that means all the engines would literally die. Like how? But is there a magical diesel god that gives life to all diesels, like Rusty, and calling all engines? I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. So this movie unfortunately failed as the box office. Maybe that's why a lot of fans hate this movie, but there's a lot of good things about it. Like the chase scene's pretty epic, and the score itself, and all seeing the visual props, and the true talented voice cast that debuts some of the characters, except for President James. So I'd say this is pretty much not good, not bad, but it's pretty much an okay movie. But thankfully, this movie is currently not canon to the overall show itself. So I don't have much else to say, but it's not bad, it's not good, it's decent. So that's all I have to say about this movie. Let's move on. Alright, in 10th place we have The Great Race. I feel like The Great Race and I have a love-hate relationship. I mean, every time I watch it, I walk away with a different opinion. But during this latest rewatch, I feel like there is some stuff that needs to be talked about in this movie. So let's start the plot. So the plot in this movie is that a great railway show is happening on the mainland, featuring all engines around the world, including the famous engine himself, Flying Skylander, which is pretty cool, not gonna lie. And of course, the engines want to go, but Thomas wants to get selected by Topham, so he tries, but he can't prove himself to be worthy. He tries to prove. I mean, we've seen him go through this struggle a bajillion times, try and prove he's faster, he's stronger, cleaner, shinier, etc., etc. However, I do wish Gordon was the main character of this movie because he's the one that goes through most of the struggle, especially trying to show up his brother flying Scotsman, but then winning the race with him wrong, but only he didn't because of his arrogance and, well, his ego of not taking the safety valve. And, I mean, not much else to say. And let's see. And I also like how the fact that we got to see all the engines, well, of course, and the musical numbers in this movie are pretty epic too. Streamlining is like really the one that comes to mind, but full of surprises that sang by Diesel is like always kind of been my favorite out of the one since, Also, speaking of Diesel, I feel like Diesel's subplot in this movie is just forgotten about. Diesel wants to get selected by Topham too because, I mean, why not? Only he clearly had a plan, only to be backfired when the Diesel is acting stupid, thinking that Thomas is he's the one pulling when Thomas was trying to move out of the way. And then, of course, Diesel gets angry, his crate falls on him, and then he's just forgotten about. So, I mean, I don't know why they did this at the same time, again, in Misty Island and Day of the Diesels, but why did they do this? I mean, this is just weird. But, of course, after this, Diesel was never in the movie after that. I mean, he was just reduced to being a background or minor character, never having a subplot again. Other than that, let's see. I mean, there's not much else to say about this movie. I mean, the Great Race, I like the concept of a great rail show happening on the mainland. It was good, but only when you watch it, it's just literally rushed. The strength competition, the best decorated engine parade, the race, they're all rushed. The only thing that ever shown in the Great Race is the shunting challenge. I mean, because Thomas is the main character, here you have to have him win, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it just feels boring. I mean, it's not bad, it's just, I wish there could be some work to be done with this movie, and I feel like let's see, another thing I don't like is the bridge scene. I mean, Thomas jumping the Brickerstown Road Bridge kind of feels, no offense, it feels stupid. I mean, they only did it just so they could sell a Trackmaster Sky High Bridge drop set just to market. I mean, they did the same thing with Flying Scotsman and all the international characters, blah, 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 blah. But then again, I feel like this movie could kind of use a bit of work, especially making Gordon the main character, but I feel like it was just executed at the last minute. I mean, they've done this several times with other characters being the main part, but they never did a movie with Gordon. I mean, women love to see it since, he's the most important character in Thomas. I mean, after watching Unlucky Tugs, so does Finest on him, but I hope he makes another one since we saw him with Edward, but whatever. So overall, I'd say The Great Race is kind of, okay, but a bit of a working needs more work movie. I mean, it's good, but it just needs to be improved whatsoever. So it's fine, just needs more work. So that's all I have to say. Moving on. Number 9. We have Journey Beyond Sodor. Yup. Journey Beyond Sodor kind of feels like an oddball to me. I don't know. I mean, it was kind of the last good movie that Mattel made before it entered the dreaded Boaba movie and the shell, but I don't hate it that much, though. So let's start with the plot. So the plot in this movie is that Henry has an accident while pulling a heavy goods train to the mainland. Thomas just wants to deliver, but James keeps bragging to him about how he's Topham's favorite. So Thomas obviously steals his train and makes his way to the mainland, sees a bunch of things. On the way, he meets up with 3 experimental engines, like the Merlin and Theo. Yeah. But I think they're pretty good. Kind of works better than Bash, Dash, and Ferdinand since nobody liked them, but they're good. But I think Merlin's the best out of all of them, so we'll talk about him later. So anyways, they help them, and Thomas, he leads himself to a steel company run by Hurricane Frankie, who they take in, and so Thomas realizes that they force him to stay instead of letting him leave. Meanwhile, James realizes about Thomas. He rushes out to help him. Thomas escapes. Then he meets up with them again, and then he encounters that Crane Bear for like he did in the beginning. And then he and the experimental engines rescue James. They get their doings, and then they leave. So far, good movie so far. So that's it. It kind of feels like a bit of a Rush movie. I mean, but not that Rush, but it has some flaws, which we'll get into later. So for pros, I like the fact that how the experimental engines are. Well, Theo was kind of okay. Lexi was just a little goofy, but I think Merlin's the best out of all the engines. I love his design, how he can make himself invisible, and his voice actor Hugh Bowman. I really love that guy. Okay, so that's good. And I feel like James also, I like how James plays a big part in this movie too, because since, well, he and Thomas have the like one-up rivalry that Unlucky Took talked about in his shortest finest for James, so that's good. But then he has a huge arc, like one time he's boastful towards Thomas, then he has a hatred, how he has to look out the bright side, and then he has a full change when he goes out to rescue and bring him home, and then the two learn to settle differences, and of course, it stems their friendship, so that's good. I really like that. I also like how the idea of the Steelworks company and how Thomas is on the mainland. It's really nice. I mean, we never got to see the actual mainland itself. I mean, we only did a few times, but that was different like in the back of the monitor. But here, so many places. I love the junction, and the songs are really good too. Probably the most important thing is being friends will always be my favorite thing. The only problem I have with this movie is, well, of course, like I said, the body gestures. Sometimes the engines are static, other times they move, but still, it's just fine. I don't know why they did this. And the thing is the ending. The ending in this movie just feels odd. Like, think about it. Hurricane and Frankie imprison Thomas, and then after James and the experimental rescue help them out, well, they help James out. Why did I say that? Then they just cry about it. That just so childish. I mean, why do they do this? I mean, and then the experimentals just decide to help them. Like, what? I mean, this doesn't feel like it's good ending at all. I mean, sometimes villains don't always get their good doings. Sometimes they do bad things, heroes come to save the day, and then they just leave villains to suffer. That's it. I mean, I don't know why, but of course, this is just a child's movie, so Mattel didn't like that. So, of course, we had to do that. Make the ending happy, sappy, whatever. So what are my final thoughts? So, Journey Beyond Sodor is, well, I'd say it's a decent movie per se. I mean, the ending's a bit cheesy, but everything else is fine. The only just the body gestures are just the one thing that annoy me, especially and it just became so annoying. It became a thing in the seasons onward, including the Blood Era. But it's fine, I guess. I mean, it's not much else to say, so it's all right. Well, anyways, moving on. Number 8, we have Calling All Engines. Now, I know a lot of people say that Calling All Engines is a bad movie, but I full-heartedly disagree with it. There are some things about this that make this movie quite a passable film, despite that the title sequence is literally the standard one from the hit era, and half of the running time are those awful learning segments for babies that people have to sit down and watch just for the whole part of the movie. But I don't hate this movie. The only problem I have with this are the learning segments, so we'll get to that later. So of course, we'll start with the plot. So the plot in this film is that it's summertime on the island of Sodor and the new airport being built, which makes the engines tighter because more passengers means more work for them. However, when Tom sent his friend Percy working there, they're upset they have to work with Diesel, Harry, and Bert. So of course, they decided to try to work from spilling wood on the tracks to swapping bricks to banana trucks. This, however, leads to crap when they really wanted destruction of human sheds and the storm damages. But even though they work hard, there's still tensions rise and an engine fight happens. But after Thomas dreams about what will happen, he soon realizes how gets the Steamies and Diesels was at a meeting to work together, and soon enough the airport's repaired for the holidaymakers. Oh, and this also has the return of Dieselton and the ladies, so pretty sure you guys knew that. There's a lot of stuff that makes this movie quite a passable film, so we'll start with the pros. Things I like is the storm damage. The storm scene is so brutal. Even the suspension bridge break-in is such a cool scene in this movie, because it was probably kind of scared me a bit as a kid, but as I got older I kind of liked it. CGI makes a good scene, but the physical models will always be mine. I also like how praise the directors of the Steamies vs. Diesel comprehend perfectly well in this film. Unlike Dave Diesel's, who paints one side in the bad light and the other in the good light, Kyle Legend shows that both sides are useful, but just as bad as the other. They'll show the Diesels paint bullies to the Steamies, but then later will show Steamies will stoop to those and be 10 times as bad as them. I really love this. It shows that one is not above the other. They're all equal and part of a playing field, and they have to put the different sides if they want to get the airport repair in no time. And I like how they introduced nice deals like Mavis and Rusty in this to show good signs. So that's a good sign. And of course, I even like songs are pretty good. Especially "Try to Do Things Better" was a pretty bop song for this. And that's pretty much all I have to say about this. And of course, I like Michael Brannon's narration in this as well. So despite the fact that Calling All Engines is good, there's some flaws that it has, where some people call it a snore fest, but I kind of wouldn't use that word. So of course, the only problem I have with this movie is the learning segments. I mean, the fast-paced action is good, the message and themes handle well, but you have to sit through some boring dialogues and stupid learning segments that talk down to babies. I mean, one moment there's a movie scene, next scene there's a theme song, then another movie scene, and then you cut to a learning segment. I don't know why they did this. I mean, they could have just included it separately or have the deleted scenes within it, but I don't know. Maybe I'll plan on doing a rewritten version of Calling All Engines sometime in the future, so we'll see. Do you guys think I should do that? Let me know in the comments below. So overall, my overall thoughts on Calling All Engines, it's a passable film. I mean, it's not boring, but it's slight average, so I'd say it's a pretty average film, and that should probably give it another chance. Just try to avoid those learning segments. So overall, it's a pretty coherent, average, decent movie. So let's move on. Number 7, we have King of the Railway. I don't know what's much to say about this movie, but I haven't watched this movie in so long. But during the latest rewatch, I feel like it's kind of a bit of a whack, but some good things here and there. So let's start with the plot. Yeah, there's no plot in this movie. I mean, just I feel like a bunch of episodes wrapped around in a movie, but here's what I know. So what I know is that Ulster Castle is being reopening. Thomas and friends want to help with Sir Robert Normanby, and of course, there's a new engine called Stephen who briefly arrives, who claims to be the first engine in steam history. Thomas knows his job. Stephen thinks he has a job. He gets lost. The engine search for him. He's found. New characters arrives. Ulster Castle reopens, and that's it. Pretty good movie, by the way. So I feel like this was actually the first movie design made by Mattel, by Eve McHugh and Andrew Brenner, who thankfully had to fix the show due to the Sharon Miller era, which we were getting so fed up by. And I think, he probably did a good job with this movie. So for pros, I'd say this movie kind of is great because, for one, it introduces Stephen, who is quite a legit Thomas character, probably one of my favorites because he really is based off of the Stephen's rocket, and I like design, his personality and his voice is really spot on, and not much to say, and I like his journey as a character, and I like how we even got Jack, who officially returned in this movie, so that's good. And I like how it focuses Thomas Percy and James help with the Earl's reopening of the castle, which they didn't know at first, but then he just literally reveals it, which I don't feel is odd, but it's alright. And we also get the Gordon and Spencer rivalry in this movie, which we haven't seen in quite a while, so that's good. And I guess there's not much else to say about the pros, so that's good. Now for cons, this movie kind of lacks a main character. I mean, sometimes it's Thomas, sometimes it's Stephen, the Earl of Sodor, Millie, Connor, and Caitlin, but it just feels odd. And of course, the plot is, like I said, the plot is confusing, but then the Earl of Sodor wants to reopen Ulster Castle, but when Thomas and Percy ask him, he really just revealed it out loud, like, duh, wasn't it obvious that your plan was going to reopen Ulster Castle? Why didn't you just you just like, didn't say anything. But of course, that kind of makes up. And I feel like this movie kind of feels a bit rushed. I mean, you just start and then it just feels a big couple paces and, well, I don't know, just feels rushed in my opinion, but I don't know what else much to say about this movie, but in fact, it's a pretty solid, good movie. The first movie designed by Andrew Brenner and Mattel, and so far I think they pretty much did a pretty good, decent job with this movie. So overall, not a bad movie. So let's move on. Number 6, we have Hero of the Rails. This is known to be the first ever full CGI Thomas movie, and the first, well, one of the movies that I grew up in my childhood, alongside with the other earlier Thomas movies. And I remember when I was younger, I remember watching this movie and trying to get the Trackmaster Spinifex Thomas playset that I was wanted, but I never did, so that's a bit of a bummer, but maybe I'll learn someday. So this movie is quite interesting to a lot of people and to me, so let's just start with the plot. So the plot in this movie is that Thomas and Spencer are having fun during the summer, just doing work, until Spencer shows up and makes life rules with them. One of them which he takes too far by challenging Thomas to a race of street, and where he causes Thomas to brakes to fail, and he winds up lost in the woods and meets the old abandoned engine named Hero, the master of the railway. Thomas and his friends decide to help restore the lost Hero, the master of the railway, without Spencer knowing. But then, of course, they succeed in doing so. And, well, Hero is repaired, and then he's sent back to Japan, and then he came back a couple seasons later. So that's pretty much all the plot in the movie. So this movie is great to a lot of people, as I say, because it's for all CGI. It originally was intended to be a model series movie prior to season 12, but of course someone just decided, let's just go CGI because props are a bit expensive. So that's what they did. So this movie is great because, well, I like the fact that its Hero is a great character, and I love his backstory and his voice actor Togo Igawa. He's pretty much a kind of also cool Thomas character alongside with Steven, and he's, well, pretty much a solid, good star. And of course, I love seeing all the characters in the show, movie, all CGI with their own voice cast. Some of them not so, them like Edward, Henry, and Toby, but that's a video for another day. And I like the fact that Spencer is the villain of this movie, and his plan was to scrap Hero. Well, I don't know. I mean, probably just because he didn't like being shown up by Thomas, I guess. So that's kind of a little harsh, but I think it's a win-win. And I like the fact that the STEAM team works together to get Hero repaired. Kind of shows that they're just not a team, but also kind of like a loving family too. So that's good. So that's pretty much all I like this movie. But the only problem that I have with this movie is that timeline. See, Hero claims in his backstory that he was the first engine to arrive on Sodor. And this kind of feels wrong to most people because, for one, if Hero was the first engine on Sodor, how did he ever claim to be? Because I mean, this shouldn't be like Edward or Henry going to be the first engine, because that clearly was stated in The Adventure Begins, and it just doesn't feel right. I mean, this probably isn't just because it's CGI. Timeline is different than the model era timeline, so it just doesn't, connect well. And another thing I kind of find really odd is that in the chase scene, I mean, I don't get me wrong, I like the chase scene, especially like the race strength with Thomas and Spencer, and Spencer chasing Thomas, trying to get to top him, but how is Thomas able to go faster than Spencer? I mean, that just feels odd, because Spencer would have literally caught up to him, because he's, obviously in Eleanor A4 Pacific, because they can go literally more 100 miles an hour than an E2 class tank engine, but of course that's just an narrative problem, not mine. So overall, I'd say Hero of the Rails is quite an excellent Thomas movie. First CGI, very good. Great narration by Michael Brandon, and of course great character of Hero, and I even like Victor and Kevin too, so they're good. So quite a spectacular movie, so that's good. Moving on. kicking off the top 5, we have Tale of the Brave. This is quite a great and interesting movie because it has not one, not two, but 3 of the main characters, Thomas, Percy, and James, in their own 3 plots. So the first plot is, well, Thomas is working at the China clay pits while his parents are being buried, and while he's there, he discovers some giant footprints. He keeps wondering if there's any kind of creature that has those footprints. Evidence keep piling up, and he doesn't know whether to believe it or not. Meanwhile, the second plot runs from Percy and his fear monsters. Thomas tells Percy about the footprints on China clay pits, and Percy has this weird feeling that monsters may be real thing on Sodor, but then he learns that overcoming his fears by rescuing James in the landslide after taking Gator's advice about being brave. James, the third plot is about James not being a jerk. While Percy's trying to overcome his fears, James takes the toll of teasing him, and then needs to create a scrap monster just to scare the heck out of Percy after being shown up by him when he had the flying kipper crash. And then he learns to not be such a jerk to him, and all 3 characters apologize, and they're all friends again. Pretty good movie so far. So there's lots. So this movie was quite interesting. I remember, like, after school, I came back and then somebody uploaded the full movie onto YouTube, and I remember watching it. I was like, it was pretty good. And then even better, when me and my family were going to Costco, I told my parents to exactly give me a copy of the Tale of the Brave DVD. No, seriously, I actually own a DVD copy of Tale of the Brave, and I watched it on repeat on both DVD and even on my laptop. So that's good. So a lot of good stuff in this movie, like new characters, like we got Bill, Ben, Cranky are in the movie, like especially like Robert Cranky almost died while trying to stop the ship, and I like how Gator is a cool character, though I wish his reason on Sodor was explained, and I like how he's an interesting backstory of how he overcome his fears before, well, passing his wisdom on to Percy, and I like pretty much the tone is well set, and the songs are good. I don't know why they had to use that Let's Be Brave song at the end, because it kind of didn't work right, but it's fine. So that's good. And even the new characters like Marion and Timothy and Reg, the scrap crane, they're all great characters. I mean, and they're pretty good. And I think this was probably one of Mattel's best work when it comes to Thomas movies. So that's pretty great. And I don't see any much issue with this. But there's one thing that I hate about this movie is the character flanderization. Tale of the Brave suffers from the most overuse of characterization. Because here's the thing, Percy learns not to be a wimp after taking Dave's advice and being brave, but only when the next seasons come out, he goes back to being a wimp again. Like say in the season episode 3 Engines Gruff, where Percy thinks that there's a troll under the water bridge, and then he ends up like a nervous wreck. And then we see it again in like other episodes, like Panicky Percy or Henry in the Dark, where Percy's scared of a ghost train. Seriously, what is this? And then same can be said for James. James learns not to be a jerk all the time and towards Percy, but only after that he's literally a jerk to like Philip in the episode Philip Saves the Day, or yeah, I don't know what remember the title of the episode, but still, Tale of the Brave suffers from characterization. You learn this movie just to see the characters actually evolve in something new, only to reset when the next season or in the next episode. Just, I don't know why they keep doing this. This is even a problem for so many characters. Well, that's all I know. So anyway, overall, I'd say Tale of the Brave is quite a great Thomas movie. I wish it could have kept the characters just the same, but nevertheless, it has great theme of good characters, and the plot is great, and quite an excellent movie. So definitely one of the top 5. Moving on. Number 4, we have The Adventure Begins. The Adventure Begins is quite an excellent movie, just like the others. Well, in a way, it marks the 70th anniversary where Wilbur Awdry, who the man himself did the Railway series books and his finest work to the CGI era, and well, I think they did a pretty good job adapting those. This was the movie where it shows Thomas's first time on Sodor and marks the stories of all the other characters from the 2 Railway series books, including the 3 Railway Engines and Thomas the Tank Engine. So that's pretty much the plot that surrounds this movie. So Let's start with the good stuff. So the good stuff is that I like how we see all the old characters back again, Edward, Henry, and Gordon, and we get Thomas and James too, but this time I'm in their new liveries because Thomas arrived to Sony in his green livery from the OBSC Railway, so that's good. And I like how James got his original black livery like he did in the Railway series, so that's good. Well, the only thing that kind of bugs me is that why does he have a number 5? I mean, it would have been better if they give him LMS since that's where he's from, but whatever. Anyway, well, the other thing I like is, well, the score. They got some of the old songs back, like Real Useful Engine, Troublesome Tracks, some of Gordon's theme, and, well, that's pretty much all those good things that were taken back from the early classic era from times that were those songs from Mike and Junior Tempo, so that's good. And I even like how, well, everything else is good, and the chase scene in where Thomas rescues James is pretty epic too, since a lot of people on YouTube made remakes and get billions of views, so that's cool. Now, for cons, well, if there's anything bad to say about the Adventure Begins is that I feel like Thomas's character kind of doesn't feel right. Contrasted to the Railway series and the first season of Thomas, where he was portrayed as a cocky shithead who made life miserable for the under engines. It was cheeky and only cared about himself until after he got his branch line. He's still cheeky until he matured over time. So that's how it was. Contrast here, he was just portrayed as clumsy and naive, and, well, I don't know, some of his cheekier sides still show, but I don't like how they handled him, because it shows that he's, like, you know, naive and, like, reckless, but it's fine, but I don't know why they had to do that. And, of course, the biggest problem I have is Henry. Henry's story is absolutely slaughtered because they portrayed him as the Warrior Winfrey Henry that he was back just like in the early CGI seasons, because especially in his story when he got shot in the tunnel, because Henry didn't get shot in the tunnel because he was scared of the rain. He got shot in the tunnel because he didn't want to get wet, because he was grumpy and standoffish and he didn't care about his passengers. I mean, I don't know why they didn't do this. And of course, he's in his new shape when he's supposed to be in his old shape. While this was just probably an animated error and either the animators didn't know or forgot to make an old shape model of Henry, I guess this unfortunately solidifies that Henry arrived in his new shape in CGI Thailand always did, and of course that's how it went, even when he had that special Welsh code that he had to take in the nitrogen era of Thomas, until Andrew Brenner and his team fixed that in the later season, so that's kind of an oddball twist. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I have to say. So my overall thoughts on The Adventure Begins is it's a classic, epic Thomas movie, a great tribute to the Railway series and Audrey's finest work, a solid, straight A movie. So that's amazing. Let's move on. Coming in at third place, we have Blue Mountain Mystery. This movie is quite a solid movie like the rest. Well, probably the best movie of all movies in the nitrogen era of Thomas. So let's start with the plot. So the plot in this movie is that life is great on the Blue Mountain Quarry, and Naoki engines are working, and Thomas is sent to work up there while packings will be repaired. Well, he works with the Narragansett engines, but until one day he discovers a little green Narragansett engine who hides away in tunnels, until Skarloey and the rest explain to him, telling him to keep it a secret. Only when he tries to figure out the last name is Luke, he soon starts to interact with him, and then he hides away again. But he has to find out why he hides away, otherwise he'll get sent away from Silver. He then turns to Victor, who turns out they both have the same backstory, and when they came here, Thomas tells the other Narragansett engines they get jealous of him, but Luke comes and saves the day, and then Luke explains the story to the controllers, and then he stays, and good ending. Realize, solid move here. And this movie is quite interesting in the most fact because of how it portrayed the Narragansett engines. Usually during the hit era, they were treated as toddler-like trains who acted stupid and childish with awful voices, but now they're matured, respectful, and wise. Especially Skarloey. I love the Welsh voice that Keith Wickham provides for it. It's really solid. And the other engines are pretty good too. I like how Thomas is portrayed here. He wants to help Luke, and Luke has an interesting backstory along with Victor, and how they, well,
didn't mean for like to them to get set away, and I even like how Diesel's active in the plot too, because well, compared to the other three films that we've ranked, he's usually in there's a subplot, and then he just gets kicked out. Like here, it's more active, especially what Pax did. I really like how they movie handled Paxton too, because in Day of the Diesels, he was just more of a background character, just did out of the back deals. But here, turns out the team wanted to do something with themselves. They turned him around, made him like one of the good Diesels, proving that not all Diesels are evil in their own way. So that's good. And I really like the theme of Blue Mountain Quarry. Looks nice. Even got like great merchandise of this place, though I wish they also could have brought back the Wharf too, and some of the other narrow gauge characters like Duncan and Freddy, but well, their models, their props were being oral, but it's fine. So I'd say this movie is quite an excellent movie, because this movie is also famous known to have Andrew Brenner as the script editor, because if you look in the end credits, you'll notice that even though Sharon Miller wrote the script, Andrew Brenner edited it. Yeah, so shout out to him, I guess. So this movie is quite excellent and quite in the top list, and even the soundtrack is unbelievable, especially that working together so guys keeps getting my head in. I'll never get tired of listening to it. So quite a great movie and great characters and overall theme, message, and story. So it's quite a solid movie to me. So let's move on. In at second place, we have Soto's Legend of the Lost Treasure. Yeah, I know a lot of you guys are surprised I didn't put this movie at the #1 spot. However, there are some things that make this movie quite a little, somewhat better, but we'll get to that later. So this is quite a cinematic movie for us Thomas friends out there, and for myself. But I feel like there's one movie that's special to me rather than this one, but I like this one, don't get me wrong. So we'll start with the plot. So the plot in this movie is that a new branch is being constructed, also from Alsborough to Harwood, and their time sends Thomas to work up here after he learned that he derailed Gordon's coaches. Just after Gordon called him out for that. So while Thomas is away, Ryan looks after the new branch line. Thomas feels threatened because he realized Thomas is replacing him with Ryan. Then he discovers a locked pirate ship after he derails the trucks into a cavern by accident, over to get blamed for Tom again. On his return to help at the new harbor, Thomas meets up with Sailor John and Skip, who he learns they're trying to find treasure. Thomas assists them, only to realize they're trying to steal the treasure, so Thomas chases after them, and only to prove he's Thomas #1 again. Sailor John gets just duped by Skip, and the treasure save Thomas' branch line, and the new branch line is complete, and Daisy returns to CGI. So, good movie so far. So I know a lot of you want. So this movie quite was a great movie for all of us out there for our viewing. So first we'll start with pros. So a lot of things I do like. I love how they're expanding the world building the island of Soto with new branch lines. So that's amazing. They brought so many characters back, like Donald, Douglas, Oliver, Toad, the Mike, Rex, and Bird. The list just goes on. And even Ryan's a great character, but though I wish portrayed as cheeky until he tries to prove himself to be useful to top them, and then he finally succeeds in redeeming himself after topping Sailor John and getting away with the treasure. Now for the cons. Yeah, I feel like this is the reason why I didn't put this movie in because there are a lot of things that most people don't like, but there's one thing that many people hate about Soldier's Legend of the Lost Treasure, and the answer is Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt's role in this movie feels like it's way too low. This is the only where he's so pissed at Thomas because you feel Thomas was acting. First, he derailed Gordon's coaches because Gordon called him out for calling him a silly little tank engine, and only for Topham not to listen to him and to take Gordon's side for it. And then he scolded Silence again after he accidentally derailed the trucks into a cavern, even though he didn't know about the danger signs. And then he gives Rocky the credit for finding a pirate ship, and then he scolds him again after he thinks Thomas was attempting to blow up Ryan, even though Thomas was trying to save him due to Ryan taking on back coal and the sparks in his following up the dynamite trucks. So I wish Topham just gonna give Thomas a chance to explain, because imagine you're in a scenario where you were blamed for something you didn't do, and then someone tried to just blame you, even though you tried to explain it wasn't really your fault, only for them not to listen to you and just, walk away. I mean, so it's important that you give someone a chance to explain, because if you don't, then there's no point. So that's why a lot of people kind of started hating this movie instead, but I feel like you should just, give a chance to explain. So that's the main reason. But overall, I'd say this movie is quite a thriller Thomas movie, especially with a massive villain, great music, a lot of new location, and quite an overall message. But I wish Topham could have been improved here and other subjects. So overall, quite a solid movie.
The number one Thomas movie out there, which deserves to be the number one spot, and it's my personal favorite movie out of all the rest. You all know what it is. It's The Great Discovery. The Great Discovery, in my opinion, is the best Thomas movie. Yeah, I feel like some people talk about this movie, but I think it's time that we bring this up, since a lot of people need to decide to remake this movie because of how unique it is. So we'll start with the plot. So the plot in this movie is that Thomas discovers a lost abandoned town called Great Waterton, and Sir Topham Hatt decides to let all the other young Jack in the Pack and navigate engines to restore in time for Sodor Date. Thomas has the important job of being in charge of Great Waterton and all the jobs there. While he's doing that, a new tank engine called Stanley arrives to do all Thomas's usual jobs. The other engines take a liking to him, but Thomas becomes jealous because of all the more important affections came from the other engines. He plays a cheeky trick on Stanley beginning too much trucks, which causes the tower to collapse. Olman get blamed for it. Thomas chases down a runaway truck in mine, gets away. The other engines are in the search party for him. Thomas isn't found. He wins on Stanley's affection. The two become best friends. Great Waterton's in time for Soldier, and Thomas learns that it's important that he and the other engines are all leaders of the track. And it's a great movie. This was known to be the last final model era movie before it turned into CGI, and I love the model era Thomas, because even as a kid, I remember when I saw the commercial for this movie, and I remember seeing that Pierce Bronson, aka James Bond himself, was going to narrate this movie, and I was like, that's weird. I thought Michael Brandon was going to narrate this, though I wish Brandon were Angels narrating UK and US. Could someone do an AI recording of Angels or Brandon narrating this movie? Let me know in the comments below. So Pierce Brosnan was the first woman narrator to narrate The Great Discovery, and he did, sort of a good job. I wish he had urgency to speed up the pace, and I like how he gives some character names like James and Duncan, but I just feel like he could have done better, but it's a good job nevertheless. And I like the idea of Great Waterton, an old abandoned town being restored in time for Sodor Day. It's a great thing too. This really shows that they're expanding the island of Sodor just like they did with many other movies, giving new location. And even Stanley, I think he's a okay Thomas character, even though after The Great Discovery kind of appeared as a background cameo until he later became so-famous just because his wooden railway model got shot up into space and literally became a fan favorite all over the internet. But I think he's a pretty good item. So that's pretty much it for I can say for this movie, and I like how The soundtrack is amazing, but my favorite song of this movie will be Thomas Stewart the Leader, because got me into the world of rap music, since this is the only set Thomas music out there to use rap. So I really like this movie, and it's probably my favorite and best Thomas movie out there. Probably because everybody's given Soul's Lost Treasure so the number one spot in their Thomas movie ranking, but I think it's fair that we give this the winner to Great Discovery. So this deserves to be the number one best movie of Thomas, especially to all the other Thomas fans out there. Folks, pretty much wraps up all the Thomas movies ranked. I really enjoy doing this video, and I want to thank you all again. I want to see it for 1,000 subscribers, so this movie means a lot to me as of now, and I can't believe this is a dream I wanted to accomplish, though I still need to get monetized, because I still need 4,000 more watch hours from you guys, or 10 million views on every YouTube short. So if you guys could do that, I really appreciate it, and I'll try to upload more content as I can. And I don't know what other plans I have for the future, and that I'll try to get more videos up. I just have a few more weeks of my first year of college. I just got to get my finals done, and then we'll be good to go for the summer. So that's it. And I really miss how they did the Thomas movies, and since stupid Mattel themselves blocked every episode, okay, well, not every episode, well, some episodes off YouTube, especially the movies, but thankfully YouTuber user known as Taylor Kennedy, he used to upload Thomas movies back then, but because Mattel copyrighted him, he can't, but he has uploaded all the movies on his Google Drive. So if you want to watch the movies for yourself or do your own ranking video, I will put the link to all the Thomas movies under Taylor Kennedy's Google Drive in the description below, so you can go out and check out and watch them, your favorite Thomas movies, every time from Magic Railroad to Big World Big Adventures. So there you have it. And once again, I thank you all for 1,000 subscribers, and of course, just like all my other ranking videos, everything I say is my opinion and my opinion alone. And I hope to see you again next time. Bye.